This Choir Cast podcast episode is brought to you by Maria Francesca French, author of the newly released book, Safer Than the Known Way, A Post-Christian Journey. It's an exploration of the promise of faith from a post-Christian perspective. What does it mean to speak beyond binaries of theism and atheism, conservative and liberal, fact and fiction? Why might a new type of theological imagination, one that defies categories and comparison, with the challenge actual deconstruction offers, be all that is next? Here you will find a compelling read of story and personal journey with strong scholarship and deep theology, significant and transformational thought that has lived in the ivory tower for too long but made accessible and resonant. Read along as the tables are turned, head towards a horizon with no line, and follow a compass that doesn't point north. Prepare to be beckoned by ghosts and travel a path unknown, because to go out into the elegant chaos of all that might be waiting for us after Christianity while still engaging in meaningful faith is safer than all that might be considered certain. If you have moved past traditional notions of God, beyond mechanisms of belief, and find yourself relentlessly curious about what might be next, this book is for you. This and more in my new book, Safer Than the Known Way, A Post-Christian Journey, out now.
The mind that was in Jesus, that mind is in me.
Without me, life has no meaning.
Why would God tell you what I'm thinking and tell you what I've said to my wife or my husband when you're not around? It's because I'm the pastor of the church and I need to know.
This is the only place where you can see truth.
Hey heathens, you're listening to the Deadly Faith podcast, where religion and crime collide. I'm Lola. I almost said Laci.
And I'm Laci.
And this shit is devastating.
Very, very devastating. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Deadly Faith. We're excited to be here.
Are we?
Yeah, I know. We're excited to be here and to talk with you guys. We're not excited about this episode. There will not be a lot of joking, probably none. This is a very devastating case. And we just kind of want to just table the comedy. I don't even know that we can muster it up. We all both of us have been on edge.
All day.
Talking about this case and bringing this up and actually doing an episode on it. And so, yeah.
Also, to prepare, I've been listening to different documentaries on this and researching so much. So much. I have listened to and seen things that no one can come back from.
Yeah. Yeah. And by this point, you guys know exactly what we're talking about because you already clicked on the episode.
You've seen the title. Yeah. You've seen the title. You know what's happening. I'm talking about 9/11 because, it's classified as an act of terrorism. That's what it is. But it's not really classified under true crime stories.
Right. Not a lot of people talk about them. It should be.
Yeah. It's weird because it's set like in a different class, it seems.
Right.
That's like a little bit worse than true crime, but like, I don't know. It's the same thing.
Like we said at the beginning, like we are going to cover all types of religions. We are not just covering Christianity on this podcast. And so we just, this is one of those cases and it is involving religion, but
like we say on all episodes that this is not a reflection of the specific religion that we're talking about. Like,
yes,
we know that these crimes are spawned from radicalism, extreme religious, horrific thing. Nothing that's actually what the religion stands for.
Exactly. And there are Christian cases, true crime cases that are prime examples of this. And take any cult, like Jonestown, anything. Like you can literally take anything from, true crime Christianity related cases. And we know that it comes from the more extreme side of the religion. And that is not an accurate reflection of all branches and denominations of Christianity. It's the same way when we talk about any other religion. It doesn't mean that this is a reflection on every single religious person in that religion, if they have denominations or whatever it may be. And so please, we ask, do not take us covering this case. Do not take it as a reason to hate or judge people of other religions, especially Muslims.
Yes. They've already suffered enough.
Yeah, of course. And I think Lola will cover some of this in this episode. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you'll learn how amazing, actually, the Muslim religion can be when not taken to the extreme. And I think there's a case for that for Christianity as well, even though we both don't subscribe to that religion, like there can be a case for it being beautiful.
There's good things about almost anything,
right?
But there's equally always something bad. I mean, and that's part of what, I don't know if I want to say this, but like just in general, I take the belief that we have good and bad as a balancing act. And that's what, like you have to take each piece with every portion of life. Bad doesn't have to mean crime, though.
Yes.
That can just mean, oh, this is an unfortunate circumstance, or I am not feeling happy about this, or this makes me feel this way.
I see what you're saying.
The bad and the good can exist, yin and yang,
Yes.
I'm getting all tree hugger on us now.
You are as okay. I love your tree hugger self.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I want to really quick, this is going to come out way further down the line, but we posted today, or no, not today, this week, we posted the Joshua Duggar case. And somebody commented on Instagram asking us to kind of give like a rundown of each case. And that just gives you guys the opportunity to kind of know what the case is about prior to listening to it. So what we've decided to do is we're going to give a small summary of the case in the show notes, as well as in the description of the post that we post to Instagram with the pictures corresponding to the case that we're covering. And we will also give a list of trigger warnings for that case, as well as like, we'll kind of tell you what kind of murder is involved if murder is involved. So like murder, but not torturous, violent.
Sexual assault.
Or if it involves crimes against children or whatever that
animals.
Animals, yeah.
I don't ever want to cover a case against animals. I'm sorry.
And I was thinking even when there's like, because spoiler alert, we'll give you guys some good news. I don't know if this is good news, but we have decided that for the month of October,
spooky
season, we're going to have a theme, and we decided serial killers because why not?
Ta-da!
So we're going to be covering that in October. Every single Tuesday will be a new serial killer.
So no cults that month. No cults, no
cults,
terrorist acts, nothing like that. It'll just be serial killers, straight up
serial killers.
We're doing pretty spooky ones too, I think.
We have some pretty creepers. Those are going to be pretty heavy cases.
We have the iconic ones.
There are a few in there that involve animals. And for small sections, but we will give I don't know that I'll go into like major detail. I'm talking about the cases that I'm going to be covering. But I think when it gets to like the really big, gruesome parts or torturous parts, we'll kind of say, okay, skip ahead 30 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever, to kind of give, if you still want to listen, but you don't want to hear the gruesome parts. But with all that being said, let's jump into today's case. Lola,
let's get into it.
Take us on this journey.
I don't want to. Okay.
I know.
Guys, I chose this case. She didn't force me.
I did not give her this case.
I'm sorry. I'm acting like this is very uncomfortable and being forced on me. It's not.
It's uncomfortable, but it was definitely not forced.
I'm honored to be able to talk about this and shed light on it. It's just hard. I'm going to be transparent with you guys. Laci knows that I cried like 20 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah.
Sobbing into my fiance's arms. And I kept saying, why was it worth it for them? Like, what was the point? What was the reason?
Right.
Let's get into it. On September 11th, 2001, nearly 3,000 people were killed. 400 were police officers and firefighters in the terrorist attacks at the World Trade Center in New York City, at the Pentagon building in Washington, D.C., and a plane crash near Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
That's so many people.
So much. It was a lot of damage. These terrorists hijacked 4 commercial planes to carry out a suicide terrorist mission, attacking a major city and government buildings. This was a religiously and politically charged mission. Firstly, I just wanted to ask, because there is about a 10-year age gap between us.
Yeah, like 7.
Is it 7?
You're 25, right? I'm 30.
Yes.
I turned 33 in like 2 weeks.
Okay. So, Laci, where were you on 9/11?
I was 11 years old on 9/11. And I was in PE because it happened early in the morning. And in junior high, we had PE in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was sitting in the gym, and a teacher came in and she told our coach what was going on. And instead of working out that day, she took us back to her classroom and we turned on the news and we just watched the entire thing unfold. And at that time in junior high, you were switching classes, and every single class you just sat and watched the news.
Oh my God, you watched it all day.
We watched it all day. And I just want to say how fucking traumatic that was for 11-year-olds to watch that, because I remember sitting in class and there was a girl beside me bawling her eyes out because we're literally watching the towers before they completely fall.
Yeah.
And we're watching people jump to their deaths.
You're watching people die.
We literally...
That's exactly what's happening, before your eyes.
Live TV at 11 years old. Some of them were probably 12, but literally 11 and 12-year-olds were just...
Why would they have
watching.
y'all watch that? That's just insane. I know that they were also in shock also, I
think they were in shock, and...
They also didn't know what was going to happen. No one knew what was happening.
Yeah. I don't think anyone expected people to jump out of the windows.
They did not, because they didn't know that all the exits had been blocked. I'll get into that.
Yeah. And so I don't think our teachers did this maliciously, at all.
No,
I think it was they were in shock and just wanted to sit there and
better judgment.
They wanted to know, right. They wanted to know what was going on.
Of course.
Right. Hindsight's 2020. But I don't know anyone around my age that even went to other schools. And you guys comment on our Instagram posts that we post pictures about this, because I want to know anybody else, what grade were you in and where were you when this happened? And did you watch it on the news all day long? Because so many people I know from so many different schools did the exact same thing.
Well, I'll tell you where I was. I was 3 years old when it happened. I was about to turn 4.
He's a baby.
I was just a child, really.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom had taken me to the church building where we attended, and she was teaching a Bible class to kids, and she was doing her prep work for the crafts that she had made for them.
Yeah.
And so I was coloring a page and she was busy cutting stuff out. And the office secretary lady from our church came in and said, "You need to come look at what's on the TV, but leave Lola in here and just come with me to this other room." And they went into the room and they watched everything happen. And so after that, they locked up the church and we all went home. I don't know what happened after that, because I know that my mother was shocked, and she immediately went and got my sister out of school too.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and it makes sense too, because we had no idea what to expect, or no one had any idea who's next, what's next. What was the full plan,
right.
for this whole attack? Was it every state? Were they sending people everywhere? And this was just the morning ritual? Was there more to come in the afternoon?
Right. And it didn't happen within just a couple minutes. It was over a good lengthy period of time in the morning. And so
it began at around 8:30, and I think around 10 was around the end.
Yeah, so that's just
so it was there were gaps of time in between where people were trying to make sense. Everyone at first just thought it was a fire that had happened in an explosion of some sort that happened in the North Tower. And so they told everyone, go back to your desks. But anyway, I'll get into the story of it.
Oh my gosh. So you actually remember that moment at 3 years old?
I remember what I was coloring.
That's crazy to me.
It was David with a sheep.
That's
a cartoon little version of it, obviously.
I don't think it will ever not blow my mind when people can remember that young in their life, because there is a lot of my childhood that I've blacked out. And I remember bits and pieces.
I have to, for sure.
Yeah. My husband,
there are some moments that stick.
Oh, my husband's I remember this and this. And I'm how the hell do you remember all of that? There's so much of my childhood that I'm whatever. If I blacked it out, I blacked it out on purpose. I don't really care.
My sister saved me from getting hit by a car, and I remember that. And I was 5 when that happened. I remember really major events.
Yeah. Core memory.
Pivotal.
Okay, let's go.
So the planes that were involved was American Airlines Flight 11, United Airlines Flight 175, American Airlines Flight 77, and United Airlines Flight 93. Flight 11 hit the North Tower. Flight 175 hit the South. Flight 77 hit the Pentagon. And Flight 93 crashed into Shanksville, Pennsylvania. So let me just give a little bit of background. These hijackers this was premeditated, obviously. You had to have a plan. You had to know how to fly a plane. You had to know how to take over the plane.
Right.
How to intimidate the passengers, and how to control the flight attendants. So pretty much a year before 9/11, they sent a bunch of these people that were part of Al-Qaeda to go to flight school in the United States and to place residency in the United States. So some of them had visas. Some of them were like vacation visas.
Wow.
Things like that. Or student visas. So that they could go to school and learn how to operate. I mean, they weren't learning how to operate like necessarily commercial airline stuff, but they did attend flight school where they could like learn the basics of operating. Because what they needed to do was reroute the planes. They needed to do like, one of them had to do a U-turn. The other one had to do like a 90-degree turn and then nosedive. Some of them, it was kind of a straight shot, but they had to maneuver a bit in order to fulfill this mission.
So they learned all of this in America.
We taught them.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's gross.
Mm-hmm.
So they all board the planes, obviously. They have like certain people that are set in certain sections for a reason. So some of them were in first class and some of them were in business or economy or whatever.
Well,
like they were all in different sections of the plane so that they could each take over a section. Let me just start. I'm kind of going in order of the planes, honestly.
Okay.
Also, most of the hijackers, at the time, it was legal to get on a plane with a blade that was less than 5 inches.
I can't wrap my head around that.
4 or 5 inches. So you could get a box cutter or a pocket knife. You could bring that. Even some small daggers.
That is shocking to me, but I never flew until after 9/11. And so all I know is flying post 9/11. So I had nothing to compare it to.
No.
But I also am like, why would you allow that? But that's also my post 9/11 brain.
Yeah, I don't see the purpose for allowing it because there's nothing like of utility that you would really need a knife for, in my opinion, on a plane. I have friends that are flight attendants and they also are like, we don't need any of that. So there's not, it just seems unnecessary. So all of them boarded the planes with knives. They did not use guns. The hijackers on Flight 11, they stabbed 2 flight attendants. They stood up after they had waited till the plane was fully in the air at its highest point that it was supposed to be at.
Yeah.
For them to...
Their altitude.
Hit the cruise control. I don't know. What...
Elevation?
That's it.
I think
whatever.
That's it.
We are not plane people, obviously.
We are not flight attendants.
I'm so sorry for all of my flight attendants and pilots out there. Just so sorry.
The biggest connection I have is my husband has flown a plane a couple times. That's it.
That's so cool. What?
I know. He wants to get his pilot's license really bad.
Do it.
Yeah, I know.
Do it. And then we'll all go on a plane ride, but safely and without knives.
It's very expensive.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so the hijackers on Flight 11 stabbed 2 flight attendants at the point where they had reached elevation, and they used mace to spray the air around the passengers and flight attendants so that no one could breathe very well or see.
Oh, God.
So it rendered everyone useless, honestly. Even if you were not directly in the spray, you could smell it and it would affect you. And it was very hard to breathe in an enclosed space like that.
Right.
So they gained control of the cockpit. We are not sure how they did that. I assume by threat or physical force with the knives. They did not immediately murder the pilots. So they gained control of the cockpit. They made a huge U-turn and they crashed into the North Tower. At that point, if you listen, so in the show notes, we're going to link a documentary where you can hear all of the dispatch of the people that are air traffic control and they're kind of in charge of everything, and they're making connections with the pilots and everything. I want you to know that the reason that they are so casual in the first tower, or the first hearing of, hey, I think we're being hijacked, is because hijackings are common, unfortunately.
What?
They are common, yeah. So normally it's that they want money. So it's not that they want to kill anybody. It's normally a safe landing, and they hold the people on the plane hostage, and they say ransom kind of thing.
Wire such and such money to the Cayman Islands.
Not to say that that's like a good thing, but like there was a protocol set in place for hijacking. They did not know this was a terrorist act. So they're just thinking, follow protocol, we got it, don't worry about it, you know. So they're staying very calm in this whole time. Once the plane had actually crashed into the North Tower, that's when it became, oh shit.
This isn't what we
This isn't what a hijacker typically does, because they've dealt with American hijackers, you know, that are like not with a plan of killing, really.
Yeah.
In the name of religion. So everyone that sees the first tower hit from below, and everyone in the building that wasn't killed immediately, think that it's just a fire. You hear on dispatch, okay, bring in all your fire units, like everything you got, bring it here. Because there was an explosion or there was a fire. We don't know. We don't know what's happening because it was so fast. You guys don't understand how fast a plane goes.
Right. And I just can't imagine being in that building and like what it would have felt like. And
what did it feel like? Really?
What did it feel like
did it
when
shake?
that plane hit? It had to have shook. But like if it didn't, then that's a strong fucking building.
I mean, it was made of steel frame, you know?
Right.
Like that shit don't budge. And it was like super reinforced. I mean, these were incredible buildings. I should also, I'm going to go into more about the North Tower in a minute, but
okay.
Unfortunately, where the plane had entered, it was kind of near the top, not really quite in the middle, but near the middle. So it cut it almost in half, therefore blocking a lot of exits. So it completely cut off the stairwell, and the elevator shaft was damaged. So the elevator would no longer work. And also jet fuel was being, like piping hot jet fuel was running down the elevator shaft. So it was killing the cables anyway. So even if the shaft wasn't decimated, cables were fucked up. And also it's hot.
Yeah.
It's hot. It will kill you. Like it is hot.
Oh my God.
And highly combustible, might I add.
Yeah.
So not an option anymore.
Oh my God, that makes sense. So it's running down the elevator shaft.
It's running down, yeah.
Down to the bottom of the entire building.
Exactly.
Shit.
And that is why people jumped, because they realized there's no way out of this, and they didn't know. I'd hate to think about the things that you question, but I imagine one thought was, what does it feel like to die by fire?
I would have jumped. 1,000% I would have jumped.
I believe I would have jumped as well. There was absolutely no shame in the people that did it. And I feel absolutely horrible that they had to do that or felt they had to do that.
I feel like the more I know now, out of all of the true crime cases and stuff that I've looked into, I do know, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
They will. They will.
I'll actually look this up while you keep talking, but I'm pretty sure the smoke will kill you before the fire even gets to you.
Yes, it puts you to sleep too, kind of.
Yeah. And so I think if I would have known that at the time, I think I would have been like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and die.
But in a panic, you're not thinking logically, even if you knew that beforehand.
But also like just jumping and dying, like you're dead like that. Like there's no surviving that jump. So it would just be, you're done. And it'd be so fast and you wouldn't have to suffer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I would have jumped.
After the North Tower was hit, immediately the military was notified that we need to send out fighter jets to try to take out the planes You know?
Yeah.
We need to figure out what's happening. Really, they meant to get them out before it hit anything.
Right.
But it was sent too late. They were sent after, which no one was preparing for this. No one had any idea, any inkling that this was happening. So I know that they probably prepared as best they could, as quickly as they could, but it was just in vain.
Can you imagine being the person in that fighter jet?
I know.
And being told you have to shoot down that American plane because it has terrorists on it. And you know that you're about to kill a ton of Americans.
The people that you're supposed to protect.
No,
the people that you're part of. That's your community. That had to be a hard thing for those pilots as well. That crashes, obviously. So Flight 175 is the next one. The hijackers, I don't really know if they did anything to the flight attendants. I assume that they probably did. But I do know that they immediately murdered the pilots.
And this is on the second plane, correct?
This is the second plane, yeah. So Flight 175, they murdered the pilots and took over the cockpit very quickly. But Flight 175, this is one that it didn't have to deviate from its path super much, not a whole lot. So it did not raise any red flags to anybody when they were watching this plane.
Yeah.
So, they didn't notice for a while, and then suddenly it took a hard left turn and a nosedive. And that's when they realized it's headed back to the towers. It's going to hit the towers.
And did they know that it was hijacked at this point, right?
They found out in the midst of it doing that. So
Okay.
They were losing contact with, this is probably wrong. No, I don't know how to say it. Pretty much the exact location of the planes was turned off by the hijackers, but they could still see them on a different system, like
radar system.
Yeah, like a radar system. So they still had like an inkling of where they're at and what path they're taking. So they just didn't have exact coordinates, and they were trying to make contact. I mean, constantly trying to make contact with these planes.
Yeah.
And to no avail.
Right.
The plane headed for the South Tower and it crashed. That one, it felt like, or it looked like it went so much faster than the other one. And its explosion was like super fiery.
Wow.
I believe that this was purposeful in the way of which they crashed. Like the position, which I don't know if this is real or not. Maybe it is.
Right.
But immediately in rewatching the footage, I was like, well, obviously, if you'd want to take out the full tower, why would you just hit the top?
Yeah.
You'd hit the middle and you'd let it fall.
Right.
It would do the work for you, Yeah. And it would take a while to burn through the steel, but like with how hot that jet fuel is and how easily combustible it is, I mean, one little ignite sets the whole thing off.
With this one being more fiery, it makes me think that the jet fuel exploded on impact.
It did, yes, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
So it was melting the steel beams that were the main part of the structure that held the integrity of the building.
Okay, so my husband forges. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, so my husband forges. He has a forge and everything. And like...
Amazing.
I think it's so hot.
It gets so hot.
When he makes a blade, like that just puts it into a major perspective of like how fucking hot this was to just melt the steel beams. Like...
I mean, literally,
oh my God.
It took it a while to eat through, but unfortunately it did. And that's when you saw the towers fall. And the debris took out so many people that were just, not only did all these people in the buildings that went to work, just a normal day, just went to work, they all died. And then on top of that, the debris that fell crushed so many people on the street that were already evacuating. They thought they were safe, but no. And the people that were just standing watching or trying to give some aid to the people that were evacuating, trying to help law enforcement and firefighters to figure out what's happening, Yeah. It was just devastating, really.
As you're talking about this, I literally see it in my head. And I see the pictures of all the people trying to run away. And they're literally just covered in ash and debris.
It blanketed people.
Oh, it was widespread.
It was an absolutely horrific mission that they sought out. It really got me too. In the documentary that is in the show notes, he says each time that the planes hit, he says, no souls survived on impact.
Oh, God.
And it's just, I don't know why hearing that completely guts me, like rips me open and guts me.
Do you know how we know the information from the first flight? Like them stabbing the flight attendants?
There were people on the phone.
Okay.
Someone, she wasn't a flight attendant. She was a passenger. She had called 911 dispatch. And was saying what was happening. I think she got reconnected to the actual like flight dispatch and they were talking with her. I could be wrong. It's in this documentary though. Her phone call is in there if you want to listen to it.
Jesus.
But she says, somebody got stabbed. We don't know who stabbed who. It's a flight attendant. And then she's like, oh no, they're coming back here. I have to hang up. She hangs up. She calls right back again whenever they're like past her or whatever.
Right.
And she's like trying to give them more information about what these people look like, what they're saying, who's bleeding. She's like, oh no, they've taken over the cockpit. Or like, I don't know where the pilots are. The pilots aren't coming out.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and I just want to add a side note for the fucker Ada. I remember his name, but I don't remember anyone else's name that was part of this hijacking. Because you can fucking rot, you piece of shit. Like, I just want to say that, like, I would dance on your grave if you had one, but you don't even deserve one. You piece of shit. Just gotta say that again.
Before you move on, I'm going to actually retract my statement by saying that I would, if I just died by the smoke inhalation, I'm going to retract that. And I would have jumped 1,000%, especially knowing what I know now. It says a fully developed indoor fire can reach or exceed temperatures of 1,100 degrees.
Shit.
Fahrenheit. Now, I'm assuming they're talking more of like fires not caused by jet fuel.
Well,
but they can get even hotter.
I assume these would be hotter. Yeah,
exactly. It says even one breath of this very hot air can be lethal. Inhaling superheated gases can burn your respiratory tract, whether or not the gases present are toxic.
Wow.
No, thank you. I would have jumped to my death.
See, that makes sense why so many people were doing that. I mean, disgusting.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. To the fucker named Ada or whatever your name is. I don't even give a fuck. You're a fucking idiot because he's just so fucking stupid, which I'm happy he was. Because
I thought you were done with Ada. That's why I like jumped in with that thing.
No.
I did not realize you were doing that. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm not done with Ada.
Let's learn about this asshole.
Bring him back. Pull the fuck up. Like, let's talk. Honestly, let's talk.
What did he do?
He's kind of stupid because he was trying to intercom. He was trying to just talk to the passengers and tell them, we're taking over. Stay in your seats. Don't make any moves. This is what's happening. We're going to land here. Like, he's trying to soothe the crowd and tell them what's happening, pretty much.
Okay.
Thanks for keeping everyone fully informed, idiot. Because you also let our dispatch know. Because you don't know how to fucking use an intercom. Idiot.
And was this the second plane?
This was the first plane.
Oh, the first plane.
He was on Flight 11. He was supposedly like the leader of this whole thing, this whole like orchestration. And oh my God, you're so stupid. But thanks for letting us know because it kept us all much more informed than what we would have been. So,
right.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that was so funny that like he didn't mean to call dispatch, but they were like, Flight 11, you're calling in, Flight 11, hello? And they heard him on the intercom saying those things, and they were like, oh, they're being hijacked. Oh
my gosh.
So anyway.
That's crazy.
Had to get that out of the way because my blood's been boiling about this person.
Right.
I'm literally turning red. Like,
she is. I can confirm.
I don't hate people. He's not people.
There's a select few. It's not real humanity, No.
Absolutely not. Garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So Flight 77 is the third one.
Okay.
This one, they were able to track it. You know, they were starting to like look into every single plane and watch their path very closely. So Flight 77, they were noticing this one was changing path and
deviating.
Yeah, it was deviating. It was changing path, and it looked like it was headed towards the Pentagon. So thankfully, they were able to evacuate a good portion of the building. However, it didn't work fully because there were 64 people on the plane. Unfortunately, they did pass. On impact. Yeah. And then another 100, God, was it 42? Another 100 or so people were left in the building, did not make it out, and did die.
Oh my gosh.
Not only that, there were several just wounded from like flying debris, because like the impact in which it hits, it throws debris at such a high velocity that like it can kill you if it hits you in the head or something, or like it can slice your arm off. Like, it was not like, oh, I got hit with dust. It was nothing like that at all. So it was glass. It was horrible because it's a fucking building. That's being demolished. So Flight 77, unfortunately, did complete its target, but it didn't get as many people as it wanted to. Our last plane is Flight 93. That target was the White House. The passengers on board, they had caught wind. They had been on the phone. They're understanding what's happening. And it gives me chill bumps.
Yeah.
Because they didn't fucking go down without a fight.
They saved so many people.
They saved so many people. So many. Like, those are the real ones.
Yeah.
I mean, you all are. But Flight 93. So a lot of them did get hurt. They did get stabbed. They fought for the cockpit. They said, we're taking back our power. You're not going to complete your mission today. Like, not like this. They realized they were not going to make it out. Like, they all knew this is it. So they really took that and they saw an opportunity to save others. That's exactly what they did. And goddamn, they rerouted these people that none of them knew about planes, probably. Like, I don't know.
Gosh.
Maybe some of them did, but like majority, I feel like it's safe to say, to not know how to reroute a plane or take back any kind of control from a terrorist group, you know?
And if you, it is not like driving a car. I can say that. If you have ever been in a plane or at least seen the inside of a cockpit, there are buttons galore. And
even the handles, like you pull up and you push down. And it's not like a steering wheel.
No, you're doing the complete opposite of what your brain has taught you to do with a car. When I was in college, the family that I lived with in college, the dad had a little Cessna plane and we would go flying a lot. And so like he would let us take the wheel and do it. And it is the weirdest thing. And that's like a small little like 4-seater Cessna, not anything like a freaking...
So there's no telling what a commercial airline looks like and operates.
I'd have been shitting a brick if I had to try to figure out how to do that. But
I tell you, they did it though. They rerouted, and unfortunately, they also did not make it out alive. None of them did. They crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. That did not hit a building. It was in a field. No one was hurt other than the people on the plane.
They basically were like, we're not going to get out of this alive. We're taking our power back, and we're going to just save everybody else on the outside, and we'll put it down wherever we can. And
exactly. Yeah. And that's what amazing. They did. They did it successfully, and we're forever grateful for that. For sure.
So not one person survived.
No.
Out of all the airplanes.
No. And hearing the panic on some of the calls, don't listen to that documentary if you're not ready to hear panic in people's voices when they actually realize that this shit is not a normal hijacking. This is like people are dying and dying quickly. And we are currently like, what can you do? You don't have control over the planes. It's not a Logitech controller. Sorry.
Oh my God, you went there?
Sorry. No, but it's not like it's not like a video game. You can't just stop it. You don't have control of the planes at all unless you're on them. So
yeah,
it's just that helpless feeling of we can't do shit until we get military involved, but military doesn't know where to go next. Like the communication was off. We did the best we could.
Right.
I'll say for the circumstances, we had done the best we could, but we just were not prepared for something like this. And
not on this kind of scale, even.
No, yeah.
I'm sure they were prepared for some kind of terrorist attack, but not that widespread.
Yeah. So I want to go into the Twin Towers for a second and just talk about that for a second.
Okay.
Firstly, any given day, there was up to 50,000 employees that worked in the Twin Towers. And then an additional literally thousands would pass through it just every day, just to and fro,
Yeah.
Up to 40,000 people would pass through in a day.
I don't know if this is a very dumb question. What was the kind of work done in the Twin Towers?
I'm going to tell you because
Okay, great. Because I literally have no idea. And I'm sorry if that's disrespectful, but I really don't.
No, it's not. I wasn't ever told this either. I never knew this. Even in school, when on 9/11, we would talk about it the full week and
right.
watch the stuff. I don't know. It was built in 1970, the World Trade Centers. They housed more than 430 companies. And they had just a wide variety of commercial activities. That was banking, finance, insurance, transportation, import and export companies, customs, brokerage, trade stuff, and then representatives from foreign governments.
Oh.
So it was a lot of important things happening there. It was a hub of they had federal stuff happening. They had government employees, but they also had other commercial things happening outside of that realm of government. So a lot of important work was done there and handled there. So it was a big deal. And it makes sense why they targeted that. Also, we were very proud of the Twin Towers. We were super cool and amazing and built in a super cool way. And fuck them. Anyway, so after the September 11th attack on the World Trade Center, the rescue and recovery cleanup of the 1.8 million tons. If you don't know how much a ton weighs, go Google it. 1.8 million tons of wreckage.
Jesus.
It took 9 months to clean up.
I'm surprised it only took 9 months.
I actually feel like that's really good.
I feel like that's fast as fuck.
But also, a lot of people came and helped. A lot of people volunteered. This was not just your standard cleanup crew from the state.
Yeah.
This was people from all over and neighboring states. They came to help. They were ready to aid this community that had been hurt and make it safe again. So amid the cleanup, only 18 people were rescued alive from the rubble.
Under 20?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Think about the thousands of people that worked there, the thousands that were still in the building that had not yet evacuated.
Can you imagine being one of those 18?
I'd love to meet them.
Right?
Shake their hand, give them a hug, give them money, whatever.
Right?
Yeah. Cases of post-traumatic stress were super, super common after this, with especially the rescue workers. The things that they saw, people were cut in half. There were limbs. There were, it was not a pretty sight. It wasn't just a bunch of wreckage. It was bodies.
Oh, I just can't.
Charred, crushed.
I just can't.
It makes you face your mortality in a super different way because you see how fragile we are. We feel strong,
Right.
When we're healthy and fine, we feel so strong and we feel invincible in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, we are the tiny speck on the earth and we build things that are so much bigger than us and are surrounded by things that are so much bigger than us. It's you don't put it in perspective a whole lot how quickly your life can be taken.
Yeah. And it's one thing to cover these kind of true crime cases or even serial killer cases and things like that and learn about them and research them and learn from them. But and look at pictures of the crime scenes and stuff. It's one thing to do that. It's a whole totally different ballgame to be one of the people to actually work on these crime scenes and see it in real life.
Go talk to the people that clean up crime scenes.
My husband used to be that.
Shit. Is he okay?
I know, right? Like, he did like water mitigation for a really long time. And when he lived in California, one of the companies that he worked at, they also did crime scene cleanup.
Okay.
And so they asked their employees, like, if you are willing to do this, like they didn't make their employees do it.
That's good.
And my husband was like, we're poor, we're broke. And so he took everything he could get and he saw some stuff and it is not good. Well, thankfully, like by the time he gets there, he just sees the aftermath of it. There's not actual, like,
even then,
people laying there. You still see horrible things. And
the smell.
Yeah.
And the sounds. It's just, I mean, obviously there wasn't just mental health effects. I mean, obviously there was. Everyone was paranoid as shit after that. You can't trust anybody. You can't trust anything. No one wants to fly. No one wants to take a ship. Everyone's just scared out of their minds.
Yeah.
But not just that, there were physical things as well. If you didn't have a broken bone or a burn, you had respiratory problems, asthma, lung inflammation, heart issues. It was just a plethora of all of these horrific physical ailments that were surfacing just due to, like, if you were within like a couple miles of ground zero, you probably had lung damage.
Right.
And that smoke reached far and wide, and especially for the first responders that were there actively for hours at a time. They really suffered with a lot of physical ailments and mental health, issues after that. This is catastrophic. Yeah,
there was, I think I had heard, don't quote me on this, but we can look at it. A lot of the like cleanup crew and stuff and first responders years later were diagnosed with cancer, and it was linked back to cleaning up in the debris.
Exactly. A lifelong effect.
Right. And some of those people have passed now due to the cancer that was from 9/11. So it's like, yes, that's the number, over 3,000 people, but like that number just keeps climbing.
9/11 killed so many more than just thousands. It was so much more than just the numbers that I've quoted. It may have taken longer to kill them, but
right.
And people were driven to suicide as well. We can't forget those people too, that they lost friends and coworkers. They lost family. They lost daughters and sons and aunts and uncles and strong people in the community that held certain, villages together.
Yeah.
They lost that. And that is not something so easily rectified.
Right.
This is catastrophic. It is unnecessary, and it was caused by a radical religious group.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing now. But first, a story. First a story. Segue. So last week, in the midst of my research, was like, I'm going to go to the antique mall because I want to. The case got too heavy. Also, it was my day off. So I was like, you know what? I'm not doing the hairs. I'm going to go stairs at the things. So I was looking around the flea mall. I had already been there for like an hour and a half, and I was about to leave. It was a big flea mall, okay?
No, I'm smiling because I'm like, I could be there for hours, especially if
Seriously,
it's like
there's so much to look at.
If it's a mall, not a market, kind of thing.
Exactly. I'd been there for like an hour and a half, and I was reaching the end of it, and I was like, I was just staring at some blue glasses, not like glasses for your face, like to drink out of.
Oh,
and
okay.
They were so pretty. They were the cutest, prettiest. Spoiler alert, I did buy them. But there was a lady that was walking nearby, and she said, go ahead, grab a buggy. You got to fill up. And I was like, oh, maybe I will, just like in passing. And she was like, this is my booth. I'm Carol. And she like shook my hand. She was like, if you have any questions, just let me know. And I was like, oh, is this your only booth? And she said, oh, no, I have 9. And she took me on a tour of all 9. In the midst of this, I asked her, she was really good at like decorating. I said, what did you do for a living? Were you an interior decorator? Because your booths are just supreme, just very organized and aesthetically pleasing. And she was like, oh, no, I was a flight attendant. And she was probably in her 60s, looked like. And I was like, oh, okay. How long did you do that? And she said, 30 years. And I said, I'm actually doing a true crime case on 9/11. Did you work on 9/11? And she said, I worked 2 days after 9/11.
Oh my
And I said,
gosh.
would you be willing to talk to me about it at all? If it's too much, don't, And she was like, no, I'm happy to. And so Carol told me that she was at her boyfriend's house. She was in Europe at the time. And she was supposed to go to Europe the next day. So it was 9/11. She got home like really, really early in the morning, like 2 a.m.
Gotcha.
So about 6 hours before anything hits.
Yeah.
She's going to sleep. She's over it. She's jet lagged. She's got to make another flight out to Europe the next day. So she's catching up on Z's. And then someone calls her and says, you need to go look at the TV. And she said, no, I'm going to sleep. And they said, you need to go now, look at the TV. And she's like, I'm not. I'm going to sleep. And after a couple more,
you need to go look at the TV.
Ernest, I really need you to go look at it because you're not going to work tomorrow, hun. And she was like, what? So she went and turned on the TV and she said it was just like a complete shockwave of like hurt and horror and sorrow. And flight attendants were stabbed and then died in a fiery explosion.
Yeah.
She's coming to grips with the fact that I have coworkers that could have been, or that could have been me. She's having to face that reality. So they called all the flight attendants, like I forgot which airline she was with, but they said, hey, we need everybody to be ready to go because we have a bunch of our employees that are overseas. We need to get them back. So we need you guys on planes to go with pilots to go get them. We're not taking passengers, but we need you to go with them. And she was like, I can't do it. I cannot do this. No, I can't do it. So she waited 2 days and then she went back to work. And she said at that time, they did have other passengers on the planes. It was not very many. People were not wanting to fly.
Yeah.
Obviously. And she said during my whole like spill of like whatever flight attendants spill, I forgot what it is, but it's like safety things and things to expect.
The announcements. Right.
Yes.
Right.
She said, I got through about a couple sentences and I broke down. And so the pilot pushed me to the side, let me sit down. And so he started and then he broke down. And then she stood back up.
Oh my gosh.
And she did. And she said that's all they could do. And all the passengers were bawling. They were bawling. It was just like no one could get through it because it was just so like devastating and just heart-wrenching,
Oh my gosh. This is a perspective that I've never heard of before. That is so crazy.
I hadn't either until I met Carol, which I'm glad I did. Shout out, Carol. I'm coming back to your booth. You had some good shit. But she told me on I'm not sure if it was that flight or the flight after that, there was a man who was of the Sikh religion. They wear turbans.
Okay.
So Sikh is an Indian religion. It has nothing to do with Islam. It's nothing to do with Saudi Arabia and anything to do with that stuff. So, but he has darker skin. So immediately there was red flags with everyone on the plane. Now she was a well-traveled woman at that time. And she had been to India. She knew about the Sikh religion and she knew what they dressed like. And she automatically was like, okay, not a big deal. Like, whatever.
Right.
But everyone was eyeing him. They were pointing at him. They were throwing things. They were like, there's a terrorist on board. They were like running up to her and other pilots and flight attendants saying like, there's a terrorist. And she said, no. He's of the Sikh religion. He's not Islam. He's okay. He's been checked by, security. Like everything's fine. We would not let anything like this happen. It's fine.
Oh my God, that poor man.
I know. And she said, I pulled him to the side and I said, I'm so sorry. He said, no, I understand. Like, this is hard for everybody. Like, I know it's not personal. Like, yes, it is hurtful, but like, it's not personal. I get it. But she just like profusely apologized. And I think she ended up moving him to a seat where he was like more by himself because everyone was just so freaked out and he couldn't like get any peace.
And that was common all across America, not just on planes, but everywhere that like any Muslim person was attacked. Their houses were graffitied. Their families were ridiculed. They were
assaulted. They were beat up. They were like robbed. I mean, there was so much chaos and paranoia, which like it makes sense. I understand, but it's not right to do because Islam, the religion, is a peaceful religion. It is not violent by any means. Actually, I have something I was going to say about that. Islam provides guidance in all aspects of life. It's unique in that it is not named after any one person. So like Christianity, Christ, it's named after Christ. You follow the teachings of Christ. But Islam is not named after a person, a tribe, region, or culture. Islam is named after a belief in one God, being Allah, the Almighty God, and submission to His will. So in other words, Muslims put Allah's will and, teachings above their own. So it's all about like peace. There are a couple of pillars. There's 5 pillars to Islam. That is profession of faith, that there is no God but the God of Muhammad, messenger of God. Prayer is a huge thing in Islam. So they pray about 5 times a day. You can pray more than that if you want to, but at least 5 times a day, I think, is normal. And they like wash their hands before they do it. They really get into like a headspace of like, this is sacred and holy and peaceful. And this is a time to meditate with good teachings. So there's prayer. That's the second. Third would be alms, which is just community tithing. Fourth would be fasting. Fasting, I know, is kind of controversial. The reason that they do it is to heighten awareness and gratitude for all of their blessings. So it makes them even more grateful for the things that they're fasting from when they get to, break the fast. And then the last one would be pilgrimage, which there's a holy city called Mecca. And it's the place that they visit that they believe that Abraham built like the city for God and built like certain buildings there. So those are the 5 pillars that like they subscribe to. Nothing about that is violent. Nothing about that is inflicting harm on any person. So please do not leave this podcast thinking that Muslims are all of these horrible things that like Al-Qaeda pushed for. That was they are not Muslim. They're something different. Muslims are amazing people.
Yeah. Just like you can take in a case like, I'm going to bring up Jonestown because that's like, a lot of people know Jonestown. You can look at Jonestown and be like, make a justification with any kind of Christian crime case or cult that you can be like, okay, they took it to the extreme, but that's not all Christians.
Same thing here.
It's the same thing here. Okay. These people took the Islamic faith to such an extreme, they committed murder. And you will see that in cases that we plan to cover within many other religions, that they justify their killings because of their faith, and they're not actually using their faith and their biblical or doctrinal beliefs to say, like, it's telling me to go kill. They're saying, well, because of this, I'm going to kill, kind of thing. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it definitely does. And even though the vast majority of the world's Muslims, they all oppose terrorism, religious intolerance, oppression of women. These are prevalent things that Muslims, they do not partake in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the religious group that did this. So firstly, Al-Qaeda obviously was the group that performed this horrible act. Al-Qaeda, it's actually called the base. Like translated from Arabic, it's called the base.
I would have never guessed that.
Right? It was an interesting fact. It was a broad-based militant Islamist organization founded by Osama bin Laden in the late 1980s. So it was just like a logistical network that supported Muslims that were fighting against the Soviet Union in the Afghan war. So it was something kind of different, but it turned into radical extremist type thing. I had to go look up radical Islam because as I was researching the teachings, of the Quran, I was like, how are they getting violence from this? I'm very concerned. I don't see the connect here. Like, where did we go wrong kind of thing.
Right.
So the Quran is written by men. So jot that down. The Quran also is not, it's something to give a guideline, just like the Bible. A lot of things are taken out of context, as can be with almost any religious text. So there are some verses in the Quran that are or seem violent or are taken out of context in order to justify violence. Here's a couple. Quran 2:191, slay the unbelievers wherever you find them. 3:28, must not take infidels as friends. 8:12, terrorize and behead those who believe in scriptures other than the Quran. And 123, make war on the infidels living in your neighborhood. These are just a couple. There are some more that are taken out of context, such as these. These are some of the main ones that really push for this like radical belief that if you don't subscribe to us, we have a problem.
Yeah. Just like the Bible was used to justify slavery, the Christian Bible tells you to go stone your child if they're unruly and not listening to you. So like stone your child to death. So like
exactly,
there's violence heavily projected all throughout the Christian Bible. So it's not something synonymous with Islam.
No, these are things taken out of context. So those verses, I don't want anyone to take them to heart for sure. This group was not only influenced, obviously, religiously, but the extremists in Al-Qaeda, they're from Arab nations. Really a huge point of this retaliation on the U.S. was because of our support for Israel amid the Persian Gulf War. 9/11 resulted in just a conglomerate of factors that were political and religious.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And honestly, I don't know a lot about the politics in the Middle East because they are vastly different. Their laws look extremely different from ours.
Right.
And they don't really make sense to me. I'm not professional that studies their economics or anything like that.
Right.
So I'm not going to speak to all that stuff and whether there's a separation of church and state. I do not know any of that.
Gotcha.
I don't know about that. I just
go
know
to YouTube.
That
I'm sure
go to YouTube, go to Google, anything like that. So the Islamist extremism was stirred by the Iranian Revolution and Soviet invasion of Afghanistan with the assassination of the Egyptian president. This extremism turned anti-American because the U.S. supported Israel and we repressed Arab regimes or something. So
yeah.
My fiance told me this earlier, that Israel, we had given them support in some realm, I don't know, and they pretty much kicked a bunch of people's asses and took over a bunch of land. So they had pissed off a lot of people.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the full context. Y'all history buffs out there, you'll let me know, I'm sure. But it was that on top of religion. So it wasn't completely religiously charged, but that was a huge portion of this whole...
So it's basically the politics pissed them off, so they let their religion justify their means to satisfy their frustrations with the politics that was going on. AKA January 6th, the insurrection at the Capitol. They were Christians and they prayed to Jesus after they took it over. So they used their religion to justify their political frustrations.
Yes. See, it's not just happening on our side of the world. It's everywhere kind of thing. So
yeah. And I know that I keep harping on this. This is the 17th time I've done this in this episode, but I'm going to continue to do it because they're Muslims and people of color and people of other religions that aren't white Christians here in America get so much hate, and they're a major minority group. So I'm going to harp on it until the end of the episode. So
no, for sure. But and we see, as white people that live in a really white-led country, it's we gotta talk about the fact that we're a lot of us are a problem over here. So it's not like we've got it all together. So
right, and it happens on our land too. That's not even our land. That's a totally different story.
True,
and we'll talk about that another day. Anyways, keep going, Lola.
Yes. Politics were a factor. Let's go back to the radical beliefs, though, because I was lost on all of the how they got from the Quran teachings.
Yes.
So obviously those obviously those verses in the Quran were taken out of context, and a lot of people definitely harp on those. If they're not with the Islam teachings, then fuck them. Yeah. The underlying element for radical Islam worldview is ahistoric, meaning no care for history or tradition, and dichotomous, so very divided. It's black, white, that's it. Like there's no gray.
Right.
And that perfection lies in the ways of the Prophet Muhammad, which was, if you're not familiar with Muhammad, just equate him to our Jesus on this side, with Christianity.
Okay.
Muhammad was like a teacher for Islam. So,
gotcha.
Which, like I said before, a typical, normal, healthy, whatever Muslim that is a true Muslim is subscribing to the will of Allah, not of Muhammad.
Gotcha.
So, jot that down.
Okay.
I'm talking about right now radical worldview. So, it's very black and white. They don't give a shit about history or tradition. And perfection is in the way of Muhammad only. And the events of his time, which were a long-ass time ago.
Right.
Therefore, any religious innovations, philosophical relativism, and intellectual or political pluralism, like holding two truths at once kind of thing, are void, they're not with it. They don't get with the times get with them. They don't.
Yeah, oh God, that's frustrating.
So it's like, it's very non-progressive.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, how many times have you guys heard me say two things can be true at one time?
Yeah,
like,
they can't sit with that. They can't sit with that for sure. So after figuring out all of that, it kind of sheds more light on their mindset and why they were so ready to die for a cause that honestly wasn't worth it. Because what did you do? What did you do? Yes, you made an impact on our country. However, there was such a strength that came from our country, out of it. There was a lot of hope born out of it.
So many people came together in those times.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, from the little research I did years ago, I did hear that, like, boats and stuff were going across, like, I don't know if that's, like, the harbor that's right there, like, near the Twin Towers and stuff, but they were, like, trying to rescue people that were just, like, these are just, like, regular ships and regular people. These aren't part of, like, search and rescue type organizations or groups.
Yeah. A lot of people, they showed up. And they didn't have to. And we sent a lot of support wherever people were hurting,
Right.
People showed up to help clean up the wreckage. And
right.
You had nurses traveling. You had doctors traveling to go treat those people.
Right.
I mean, it was incredible the ways that we showed up for the community that needed us.
Yeah.
And let's talk about church, though, here. Let's talk about the effects that happened here. Because
I was wondering if you were going to talk about this.
We had some, like we were saying before, stereotypes and phobias were starting to kind of pick up when it comes to, Muslims or anyone that looks different from you that's not white, honestly. Everyone was scared of everyone. So it was a very, like, us versus them mindset, digging our heels in more than ever with, like, if you're not white and Christian, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
So the church was purposefully separating itself from specific demographics, specifically. So at the beginning of 2002, church attendance did pick up in the U.S. because disaster tends to drive us into the belly of religion, which there is nothing wrong with that. Wherever you need to seek hope and you need to seek light, you go where you need to go. That's fine.
It is hard for people to sit in discomfort and sit in the nuances of tragedy. I actually made a TikTok video that I'm posting tomorrow about this, but it's hard for a lot of people to do that, especially Christians, and they need answers. It's very black and white. Like, I need answers. I need somebody to explain.
We need to make logic sense of this whole thing. The why needs to be answered for a lot of people.
I need the why, and I need to be able to blame somebody.
A lot of the time, that is how it goes, for sure. So, we needed logical answers as to why. And that was out of reach. Actually, though, the numbers declined. So, like, they picked up, but then they declined. They were back to normal pretty soon after. I mean, 2003, it was like, really by the end of 2002, the numbers were just kind of teetering off. People were like, okay, I guess we're fine now. So another thing that kind of pushed people into Christianity, the arms of Christianity, was also the fact that there was a cross in the rubble. at ground zero.
Oh, shit. I forgot about this.
This was not a real cross. This was not a cross that was like made specifically as a cross. It was steel that was left over in the shape of a T, a lowercase t, that looked kind of like a cross.
Which happens a lot of times in construction.
It does.
Like
it's a very
T's.
secure type of...
If you if you want to find a cross, like I could find 6 crosses looking in front of me, and I don't prescribe to Christianity, and it's not one of them would be a decoration piece. So
Oh, yeah.
if you're looking for it, you're going to find it.
For sure. So, everyone thought this was a sign of hope and a sign that God is with us. Some people took it to that side. There were two opposing sides to Christianity at this point in time. One said, God is with us. This happened for a reason to bring us together, and all hope is not lost. And that was great. I'm with them. I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm. You're right. We can get past this together. We can band together. We can work in love and get things done and get this shit taken care of. However, there was an adverse effect on the opposing side.
I think I know where you're going with this.
There was an adverse effect on the opposing side, and that was that God had sent 9/11 to happen.
Uh-huh.
That it was because we were living in sin, because the water's turning the frogs gay. I can give us some comedic relief here at the end, okay? We're past all the bad parts. We honor and respect everyone, that passed and that gave their life and worked very hard to bring the city back to what it needed to be. And no one deserved the hurt or the death that happened. So I just want to go ahead and acknowledge that now.
And I will say, are we harder on Christianity? Yes. Why? Because we were both in that religion. Okay,
because
so
it's
yes, we are
prevalent here.
naturally, and it's prevalent here, and we have Christian nationalism that's trying to take over our country. So yes, we are going to be harsher when it comes to Christians.
We've got more critiques for them.
Christian extremists.
Yeah,
we will.
We've got more critiques.
That won't change.
Yeah. So Reverend Jerry Falwell, I think that's how you say it.
Falwell?
Maybe.
Jerry Falwell.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And Pat Robertson kind of set off this whole idea.
Dick sex.
Now, they asserted these ideas of their own on TV. We love the televangelists, don't we?
Yeah, they're just a bunch of dildos.
That an angry God.
Actually, I like dildos. I don't like them. So never mind. I take that back.
Yeah, we like dildos, but we don't like these people. Pat and Jerry.
Oh.
Yeah, so they said an angry God had allowed the terrorists to succeed because the United States had become a nation of abortion, homosexuality, secular schools and courts, and the American Civil Liberties Union. Mm-hmm. Laci, you have things to say.
I was...
Her face, you guys can't see her face, but her face, she's got things to say.
Yeah, so it makes me so fucking mad. Which we will cover it in another case, but the Westboro Baptist Church. I'm probably one of probably the top 10 people that know the most about the fucking Westboro Baptist Church. I have done such a deep dive into that. And I think it was actually like a 2-parter on my YouTube channel back like a year ago or whatever. But like
back in the day,
they would say the same shit. Like,
yeah,
your soul, like, God, let your soldier die because we let gay people in this country and we're okay with gayness. And God allowed 9/11 because
the gays have brought destruction upon us.
It's always the gays. Why?
I didn't know I had that much power.
I know, right?
Honestly, I didn't know. I am drinking soy milk and minding my own business.
Right. I can't roll my goddamn motherfucking eyes enough every time I hear people say shit like this. Like, God let it happen.
If that's the God that you serve, you should get a new God too.
Yeah, especially when they say God made this happen or
orchestrated it.
Or orchestrated, especially when it comes to these big events. And I still even get frustrated when people say God let such and such happen so that God could help you with another thing. And it's like, okay, so God tortured me or God caused me to have injury over here so that he could help me over here. Like, that's an abusive person. That's not a healthy relationship.
And adversely with the whole, like, God has done this to show something about his power or to like help you glorify him too. Like adversely with positive things too. It's like we just give a lot of credit to a God that, I'm sorry.
He's very sadistic.
Where you at, boy? Where you at? I'm checking my watch. Like,
like you have one on and you don't.
my bare watch. I have a tan line right here. That's really nice.
You do.
That's great.
When people would say like, God let this happen so it could be part of your testimony.
It can make you a stronger Christian.
Fuck my testimony. Like, are you? Ugh.
Yeah. We give God a lot of credit for some things that I don't really think God needs to take credit on. I swear he face palms himself all the time. Like, I didn't say that, or I didn't mean that, or that's not what I'm doing. Stop Jesus would be like, the fuck is send me back, man. Send me back. I didn't get it.
Yeah. Rewind.
I didn't get it the first time.
Oh, God.
Praise be.
I get so irritated. I get triggered. I literally get triggered when people say, like, God made that happen, or God let that happen. Or
a God of love would never, ever have done that. I hope none of you genuinely believe that God would cause or orchestrate anything bad to happen to you. If anything, I just hope that you believe that God is with you in all those moments, ready to comfort you. So that's 9/11. That's the religious aspects behind it. And please be nice to all your Muslim friends, because no, they are not terrorists and they're just living their own life. Please don't rip off their head coverings, and please don't attack them or anything like that.
Yeah. And if you can justify that the KKK is religious extremists on our side of Christianity, then you can justify that these people were extremists with Muslims.
Sit with that.
Islam.
Sit with that.
Yeah. See, there are two sides to every coin.
Yes. So,
yeah, we'll end it there. Actually, Isaac, we need a palate cleanser. We definitely.
I was going to say, can we have a palate cleanser?
Definitely need a palate cleanser after that. You got a palate cleanser this week?
Here, what is mine? I forgot everything that happened this week every time we get to this point.
You know what? I told myself earlier, I was like, that'll be my palate cleanser. And my bitch ass forgot what I was going to say.
I said that to myself earlier too. Our palate cleanser is just pretending that we have one, actually.
Right.
Wait. Hold on. I have a palate cleanser.
Okay, cool.
Here's some good news. Today, on July 19th, 2023, a veterinarian conference turns into a free clinic to care for the pets of Denver's homeless.
What?
Yep. That's right.
I love that.
Super inspiring. Yeah. This year's annual convention for the American Veterinarian Medical Association has been turned into a medical care drive for the companion animals of the homeless population in the Denver area.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, that's so cute.
Yes.
I love that.
If you guys ever want to just know good news, so if your news outlet that you subscribe to is just not super nice all the time, there's something called goodnewsnetwork.org, and they always have something good every single day that they report on. So if you ever need a palate cleanser, just aside from ours, go here. You'll find something, and it's amazing. They also have a section called Good Gifts, and then also Good Talks. So check that out.
I'm trying to find, there's somebody I follow, or an account I follow on Instagram that does the same thing, where it only gives good news. And it's really amazing stuff that they give. Oh, shoot. I can't find it, but I will find it, and I will tag it in the show notes so you guys can find it, because some of the stuff that they post about is like so uplifting and so amazing. Also, I'm going to give you guys a TikTok account.
We're just doing recommendations. Our palate cleanser is just recommendations.
Yeah. Which this is going to come out a week before September 11th. And right now it is July 19th. And so we record quite a bit of ahead of time.
Yes, we're very
hopefully
prepared.
they're still doing these videos so you guys can go crack up about them. It is the San Diego Zoo's TikTok account. You guys need to go check that shit out. I was laughing my fucking ass out.
Oh my God. I know what you're talking about. Yes, I agree.
The platypus, like it talks about the platypus, but it uses one of the like voice filters.
Yes.
And what does he call it? He's like, it looks like a duck trying to go out of a beaver.
Yes.
That's what it looks like. And then one of their videos, they were talking about the capybara, and he calls it what was he call? I called it like a Karen, some kind of capybara. That's
Capybara.
Capybara.
That's what they called me in high school.
Laughing.
That's good.
Oh, really?
No.
They called you Barbara? Oh, I was like, why?
It's a stupid joke. So if anyone subscribes to Rhett and Link, I love Rhett always says, that's what they called me in high school. You know, like to a random phrase.
Okay, yeah, I forgot.
I have kind of picked it up from Rhett. Rhett, please notice this podcast. Please notice us. I admire your work so much.
I love you, Rhett. I love you, Link. Oh my gosh. If you ever listen to this, which like probably not ever, but a girl can dream. I watched Rhett and Link from like
the get-go,
the beginning of their heydays. Yeah. And so they were in their like little shed in their backyard and like, I think it was like North or South Carolina. I cannot remember which one. Was it South Carolina? Okay, that's what I was going to say. So yeah, I followed their entire journey from the very beginning. I haven't watched their stuff as like consistent because they have so much stuff that comes out, and I've become a mom, and so I don't watch them a whole lot. But they were one of the first people I watched their deconstruction video and like podcast or whatever about that. When I first started deconstructing, because I was like, I know these guys. Like, it helped. But yeah. So yeah, that's the show. That is 9/11. Go take a bath. Go drink a margarita, unless you're...
Drink some hot chocolate.
You're clean. Yeah, there you go.
In case you're clean.
We don't have to have alcohol, unless you're clean. I meant like recovering. If you're in recovery, then like don't do that. Go drink a tea.
Pet a dog.
Or soda.
Kiss a cat.
Pet a dog.
Do whatever you want. Just... do something nice for yourself today and go look at thegoodnewsnetwork.org. That is all for now.
Yeah, don't do crime, don't join a cult, and we'll see you next time. Also, heathens, if you're enjoying the show so far, please remember to subscribe on whatever platform you listen to us on and leave us a review because your salvation depends on it. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, leave us a review because we would absolutely love it. Deadly Faith is brought to you by Choircast Network. It's produced by Laci Bean and Lola Robbins and audio engineered by Eric Howe. Thanks for listening.